Now, some of y'all are like, well, what constitutes a Black nerd? And I think that there is something kind of expansive about it, right? Like, for some people, like, nerddom might simply just be about like being really good at school, you know? Like, oh my God, like I'm really like a nerd. Like I'm really like good at like school, right? But that's not just it. I think that nerddom has been something that we have seen has expanded beyond just academia and like academic prowess to really the idea of being an expert, like to the point of obsession about certain things. And I think nerddom in like a general sense is also just like, do you like things in an OD way? And you can nerd out about stuff that people might not even associate nerddom with. You know, like there's football nerds, but you're like, no, that's a jock. It's like, no, that's a football nerd. Like if you can sit here and tell me like the playbook for the 1992 New England Patriots, baby, you a football nerd. Yes. And nerddom has been a thing that we've seen grow in the zeitgeist as something positive over the years. Now, when I was a youngster, they had Revenge of the Nerds, and like everybody in that movie was somebody that you're like, oh my God, like they're corny or they're dweeby. We'll get to that. And I feel like one of the biggest things that I've been really happy to see is the growth of the Black nerd, because for a while there, it was as if being smart was a bad thing. Like within the Black community, that became like a thing that people were somehow like making fun of people about, you know? Like, I just think of the Chris Rock joke where he talks about, you know, being around his cousins and they like, oh, you a smarty art, huh? Oh, you a smarty art. Bet you can't kick my. And you like, okay, I probably can't, but I could in a quiz bowl. You feel me? You know, it scares me when I look at just like the climate of the country and the efforts that are being made to really continue to ramp up idiocy and idiocracy, right? And not just on like a mainstream level, but also specifically around Black history, around Black identity. Like we have to become nerds about us, like literally about our own history and identity. Like we have to become obsessively interested in that because there are people that are nerds about oppression. Okay. So when we talk about the concept of the Black nerd, I just want y'all to know that over the course of this episode, it's expansive. It's not just going to be specifically based on like being really good at calculus. It's also not going to be specifically based on having watched all the Lord of the Rings films several times. I mean, I'm speaking for a friend. Definitely just watched. I don't think y'all understand. I have watched The Fellowship of the Ring at least 35 times by now. At least one ring to rule them, one ring to bind them, one ring to end the darkness, find them. It's very serious. It's very serious. I have a Jedi tattoo, y'all. I literally have a tattoo on my wrist of the Jedi symbol. And it's messed up because the person who did it was not on their theme. And so it's really ugly, but I have to get it fixed. And at some time I will get it fixed. But like, that's how serious. Like for us Black nerds, we really be about our life. Like we really, really be about not just the nerdness of being into things, but I think for a lot of Black nerds, our connectivity to like actual, whether it be comic books or like art, like artistic spaces of nerdness, it is like a home. It's like a place we found home in that we may not have found in like traditional Black spaces. So we take it very seriously. Like, I don't know why I find home in Star Wars, but I do. I do. Maybe it's because I feel like, you know what? I feel like I need to start this damn episode. All right, let's get into the gem drop it. I got enough time to think about all of this. I got enough time. So stick around. Maybe by the end of the episode, I will figure out why I find home in Star Wars. Actually, I think I just figured it out. Ooh! I think I just figured it out. Okay, we'll get to it. In the meantime, in between time, let's drop a gem or two. Jam dropping. We dropping on these hoes. All right, so today's gem drop-in for this episode is nerd versus dweeb. Okay? Big difference. These are both terms that have been coined to describe outliers, right? And I feel like as we have seen like the expansion of language around neurodivergence, we have come to understand that most nerds are neurodivergent and it's actually a reflection of their intellect, right? It's actually a reflection of their ability to have like brain activity operating on a level that is not considered normal. It's above average. And when it is applied to like specific spaces, it can be really expert level things. Like I know so many stories about like people who are neurodivergent that are absolute obsessive about like a particular thing to the point where they know as much as people who have went to school to study this, whether it's marine biology or dinosaurs or, dogs, you know, I feel like I've seen it really around like animals a lot, but nonetheless, that used to be something that I feel like was like on when really, as we look back, it's like, oh, you was just hating. Like when Nikea told me that I think I'm an encyclopedia while I was on the playground at Laston Elementary School in 1987, she was hating. We became best friends shortly thereafter, but she was hating because your girl is an encyclopedia. Proud of it. Been a black nerd since 88, baby. 87, 85? Since I could read. Your girl been a black nerd because I've always been into the thing. And that's what nerddom is. Dweebdom, in my opinion, has a different element to it. I feel like dweebs are folks who may be smart, but they're judgmental about it. And so it isolates them. That's what I feel like. And so they be like in their dweebdom, it's like, they're just like, right? Like they talk like this. Like you could be a dweeb and you're just like, why does people don't like you? And they don't like you because you're super smart and they're hating. They don't like you because you are like a bully about your nerddom. You feel me? That's to me what a dweeb is. Like you're just like not cool because you're just like not a cool person. It has nothing to do with your intellect. Now, I will say that nerddom is really a unique thing because it's so unique to the person. Like, I feel like a dweeb is not a dweeb about something. They're just a dweeb in how they exist. And their dweebiness makes them like repellent. A nerd is because they're really into something or some things. And so they end up actually connecting with people through that, right? There may be people who are like, oh my God, like you're so obsessive about XYZ, that's weird to me. But there's also people who are like, oh my God, I'm obsessive about that too. Let's hang out and eat lunch together in our costumes. Oh my God, I brought a cape for you today. Oh my God, you brought a cake? No, a cape. So now we can all wear our capes at lunch and be weirdo nerds together. Like that's the type of shit I used to dream about. I've been a nerd, y'all. Anything I like, I'm a nerd about. I don't just be passively liking. That's also the difference between nerds and dweebs. Dweebs are literally just in the mix of things in an energy space that throws it off. Nerds are all about, I am about this right here. Now, can that throw the energy off? Maybe. But it also is really just about them being so passionate that really that can bring people to you. Yeah. And there you have it. Nerds are not passive, they're passionate. And dweebs, they actually are just like, stop being weird. Maybe it's the difference between weird and strange. It's like nerds are weird and dweebs are strange. Strange, I'd be like, I don't like that. Like, I don't know. Strange be throwing me off. But I say all that to say that if you are a dweeb, that doesn't have to be who you are. You can change anytime. Are you enjoying this episode? Well, all my blerds, I need you to head on over to Patreon and get the rest of it. Aloha Mora. That's me opening Patreon for y'all.